If you guys have been keeping up with Twitch, you'll see that there are a lot of different challenger players who have been going through on 100% win rate smurfs, trying to climb to as high of an elo as possible with 100% win rate. This has been trending lately, at least for the last month, and today I want to cover how these players are able to maintain 100% win rate for so long. You know, I heard through the grapevine that if you like this video and subscribe right now, you've got a better chance of getting these 100% win rate smurfs on your team rather than on the enemy team. If you're hoping to one day be one of these 100% win rate smurfs, then make sure you head over to our website, GameLeap.com, and get your GameLeap Premium membership. Our website is the best one-stop shop for absolutely everything. Anything you want to know, champion specifics, macro, micro, lane specifics, we got it all there. Make sure to check us out using the link in the description below. All right, now without further ado, let's get into some quick rules that every single one of these 100% win rate players will always follow. The number one rule above everything is they will always duo queue. They will never, under any circumstances, solo queue and try for a record by solo queuing. The reason why is duo queue allows you to pick one other person that you know is going to be consistent on your team. This is something that you should always be doing if you want to win more games. Now I know what you're thinking, but Panther, I can't just find a challenger solo queue player, ask them to duo with me, and then duo to super high rating with that challenger player. I'm only silver. Yes, I know you will not be able to duo with as high rated players as these smurfs are, but the idea is to just find somebody who's somewhat consistent and that you trust. The point isn't to get you to duo with as good of a player as possible. The point is to help you find consistency, which will then help you improve. The quality of your duo is going to play a huge part here. You're going to want to find a duo who is just as motivated as you are, if not more, to climb. This is going to allow you both to improve so much quicker. If you have somebody that's there to push you when you're feeling down or you have an off day, then you can still improve that day. Whereas if you're just on your own, you're having a bad day, then you probably won't get anything for that day. It's the same reason why if you go to the gym, having a gym buddy makes things so much easier. Now, there's always the players who present the argument of, oh, well, you duo queued. Your rank doesn't count because you duo queued and it wasn't solo like me, the player who can't find anyone who wants to duo queue with them. And, you know, if you're just to present this argument in a different light, for example, say, oh, you go to the gym and lift? Well, your gains don't count because you had a gym buddy. Well, of course, nobody would take them seriously, right? So the best thing to do with people like that is just ignore them. You can't reason with that. Do not allow yourself to get sucked into this toxic, strange, twisted mentality where duo queue doesn't count or whatever it is. Now, if you are a player that just prefers solitude or plays better on their own, that's completely okay. If you're not reliant on another person or if playing with somebody else makes you play differently or worse, then by all means just solo queue instead. There are, of course, players who are like that, but in my experience, it's easier to duo queue. I would recommend trying to stick to just a few different duos. You don't have to be exclusive with one person, but try and keep it as small of a pool of duos as possible, maybe just 2 or 3 people max, because that allows you to really work on the communication with them, and it allows you to kind of grow together, get used to each other. That way you don't have to just readjust every single time you play with a new person. With my current 100% win rate climb, I'm playing it with my duo that I've played with for years and years and years, and it's just so easy to play the early games because we're so used to each other and how to play off of each other. Our communication is great. Yes, sometimes we argue, but we're easily able to get over that kind of stuff. And most importantly, after a game, if we both agree that something went wrong, then we work with each other to help each other improve and fix that problem. That way it won't occur in upcoming games. Duo queuing is by far the greatest advantage that these players have over everyone else, and it's something that you should be trying to take advantage of yourself as well. Start establishing a good relationship with a duo right now, and you could be in the same place that I'm at right now a few years down the road, where you just have somebody that you've been doing with for years, and it just feels so natural to play with them that every time you play with them, your win rate just increases by 5 to 10% automatically. Me and my duo are to the point where we frequently get comments that we argue like an old married couple, and you know what? Essentially, that's what we are at this point. We're just married to each other through LP or something. Now the next rule, and this one of course is going to be the second most important one, is you have to master the early lane phase. No matter what champion you play, the first 15 minutes of the game are always going to be by far the most important. Even if you're playing a late game hypercarry like Vayne for example, the lane phase is more important than the late game. One of the picks I play during this 100% win rate challenge is Kassadin, and most people would agree that Kassadin is a late game champion. Now, I have my own opinions on Kassadin, but that's completely irrelevant here. Most people think that Kassadin is a late game hypercarry champion, and once he hits 16, yes, he absolutely turns on and can just 1v5 the fight. However, in most of my games, if I'm able to win the first 15 minutes, the early lane phase with Kassadin, that I won't even get to level 16, they will just surrender before I'm even able to get to that hyper late game. The other one of my signature champions, Renekton, is considered a very early game aggressive pick, and with that, if I'm able to win the first 15 minutes, oftentimes I can just take such huge leads across the map that there's no way for the enemy team to get back into the game. A lot of players play very scared and very reserved in the first 15 minutes because they don't want to mess it up. But if you want to be taking as many wins as possible, you need to be playing aggressive and you need to make the most of your early lane phase, the first 15 minutes. If you're able to master the first 15 minutes and take leads when they're given to you, then you're going to win so many more games. You can take early towers, you can leverage those into early objectives for free, you can win fights, you can roam, you can take Rift Heralds, right? All of these things in the first 15 minutes of the game are going to do a lot more than if it's past 20 or 25 minutes. Late game is also very important to know how to play, but keep in mind, some games never make it to late game and every game will have an early game. If you do struggle in the first 15 minutes, make sure you go back and you analyze your lane phase over and over and over again. Try to see the mistakes that you're making and how you can amend those mistakes. If you can find a buddy that you can just practice laning against for 15 minutes over and over in a custom, then this will definitely help you out a lot. Sometimes it's hard for you to do that, but if you're able to find somebody who is willing, then this will go a long way. Next up, you gotta play to win. Don't play to not lose. When we're playing in these accounts, most of the players that we play against are just playing not to lose. And the thing about that is, yes, sometimes they can prevent us from taking certain things, but just preventing somebody from taking an objective every once in a while will never result in you getting a win. Now, a lot of this does come down to the intimidation factor. People see our 100% win rate, they say, oh, these guys have not lost a single game yet, so we just need to try and make sure that we don't lose. Well, you can't win by attempting to not lose, right? You have to take advantages of your own whenever you can. The 100% players are so disciplined that they will always be able to slowly choke somebody out of the game, and they will almost never play reactively. These players are able to win 100% of their games in lower elos simply because they are playing to win. They're not playing to prevent themselves from losing. This means that sometimes they will take high risk, high reward plays, but they will always have a reward from the play they make. Sometimes when you're playing to not lose, there is no reward to the play that they make, and there is a risk. Playing to win means that you should go for the play that gives you the highest reward with the lowest risk. Sometimes that means that instead of going for a solo kill in your lane, you're going to look for an objective like Dragon or Rift Herald instead. Sometimes it means that instead of just pushing your lane over and over and over again and playing ping pong with your minions, you go and roam to the side lane. Yes, sometimes if you just push and roam, you're going to die during your roam. You'll lose some minions for that. But if you just push your lane over and over and over again and you never roam, then you're not going to get anything anyways, right? You need to make sure that you're being proactive, you're making things happen. This is going to allow you to win more games. Our 100% win rate players always do this in every game. They're always proactive. They're always forcing things to happen. That means the enemy team always has to play reactively and they get to take control of the game. If you're just playing to not lose, then you're never going to have control of the game, which means the enemy team has to make a mistake in order for you to win. And sometimes that will happen, but it's a lot easier to just make plays of your own. The next tip is pretty obvious, but a lot of players just don't do it. Just play ranked when you're at 100%. If you're not at 100%, you're not feeling it for the day, that's okay. You don't have to play ranked that day. Me and my duo both have lives outside of League, right? We have jobs, girlfriends, so we need to make sure that we're still spending our time right. Other things are just way more important to us than League of Legends, and sometimes at the end of our day, we're not at 100%. And if we don't feel like we're able to play at 100%, then we just won't play that day. It's completely okay to just take a day or two where you don't play because you're too exhausted. If you had an especially long day at school or work and you're just exhausted, you can't play, you're maybe at 70%, then it's fine. Just play a Nexus Blitz, play an ARAM, a normal. If you want to wind down, that's cool. Just don't go into ranked because you know that you're not going to be able to play well. Personally, the only thing that I will take is caffeine to help me play. If I'm at 90%, I'll take some caffeine. That'll help me get to 100%. That's completely up to you. Just don't go around messing up your sleep schedule simply because you took caffeine at 11 p.m. Also, this is something that a lot of pro players will do. What a lot of pro players will do is they'll take caffeine purges. So they will take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks off of caffeine until they stop being addicted to the substance, and then that will allow them to get the full effect of caffeine again. If you're a person that drinks a lot of energy drinks and just consumes way too much caffeine, or you're dependent on caffeine, you use it every single day, then I would highly recommend this for you. And this is definitely going to help with not just League, but other aspects in your life. Try to break the addiction to caffeine. Make sure you drink a lot of water. You're going to be miserable for a week or two, but when you come back, you're going to get the same results from caffeine with way lower dosages, and you won't have the negative side effects. If you are a person that is taking caffeine every single day, then if you're able to properly use it without getting yourself addicted and use it in the right quantities, then you're going to see a huge difference in this. And you don't need to take my word for it. I would highly recommend doing some research on it. Almost every single professional player uses caffeine. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you are somebody who already takes caffeine, I would highly recommend just looking up the facts about the substance. Next, you want to make sure that you are using as small of a champion pool as possible. If you look up these accounts that these Smurfs are using, oftentimes they're just going to have 3 or less champions that you're using in almost every single game. This is a tip that I have mentioned multiple times in the past. It's not exclusive to smurfing. If you just want to play as best as you possibly can, keep the champion pool small. It's going to allow you to practice these champions way more, but it's also going to allow you to know the limits of those champions in each of your games, and that allows you to just win more fights, which results in more wins. The more familiar you are on a champion, the more success you're going to see from it, and that is the simple reason why small champion pools will always be more potent than large champion pools. Yes, there are some absolute freaks of nature that can just queue fill, play any champion in the entire game, and still carry with them, but those are few and far between, and I would not recommend even trying that. Queue for one role, pick a few champions. This will allow you to specialize in that role in those champions and really push yourself forward. Your understanding of the game will still come naturally while you're climbing. It's not like, oh, I'm one-tricking Riven, I only know what Riven does. No, you'll still learn what every other champion does. It's just going to take a little bit longer than if you were playing every champion. The upside is you will climb way faster because you're just playing a few champions. Next up, you want to make sure that you're playing towards a few specific win conditions from the start of the game. There are so many different win conditions when it comes to League of Legends that it's impossible to cover them all. You can win through late game team fighting, you can win from Dragon Soul, you can win from Baron, you can win from Elder Dragon, you can win by triple inhibitor and then sieging the Nexus. There are so many different ways, but you need to pick what looks like it's going to be the best win condition when the game starts and then play towards that. For example, if I am playing with 5 early game champions, we have Pantheon top, we have Talon mid, Jarvan in the jungle, we have Syndra bot lane paired with a Zyra support, then we want to end the game as quickly as possible. This means as a team we should not look for a late game win condition like Dragon Soul or Baron. Instead, we want to look to take early Rift Heralds, crash them into towers, get an early inhibitor, and then leverage that into pressure on the opposite side of the map so we can get a second inhibitor. We're playing with 4 late game champions and an early game jungler. Well, then our win condition is just stick with things for as long as possible until our mid and late game kicks in, and then we can look for late game objectives like Baron or Dragon Soul or Elder Dragon. Try to understand the win condition you should be playing towards from the beginning, and that's going to allow you to win more games. If you're playing with a Vayne ADC and you try and win lane in the bot lane with Vayne ADC against Lucian, then chances are that's going to go really poorly for you. Just picking a win condition at the start of the game and playing towards that is going to increase your odds of winning the game by so much. And so many low-rated players don't do this. So just think ahead of the game, even while in load screen, how can we win this game? And then play towards that. Finally, we need to talk about stat websites and dodging. Back in the initial days of League, we didn't really have stat websites. We didn't have a way to look up our teammates. So if somebody wanted to hide who they were, they could easily do that just by changing their name. And then you kind of had to play with who you were given. But nowadays, this is just not the case. You can look up anyone, no matter what their name is, put them into op.gg, look up their account, see what they play. If they're autofilled or they're deciding to play something different, or if they're on a 10-game loss streak, then it is completely up to you to dodge. There is so much research that you can do before the game starts to see if your team is on their main picks, to see if they're a low win rate, to see if it looks like they purchased their account or if they're trolling. There are a lot of things that you might want to check before going into the game. And if you get the suspicion that this game does not feel like it will be good going into it, then feel free to dodge. Now, I did leave this tip for last because it is a very fine balance between dodging too much and dodging the right amount of times. A lot of players will look up their teams and get to the point where they see, oh, this guy's on a 2-game loss streak, that means a dodge. No, you should only be using these statistic websites to dodge if it looks like it's a guaranteed loss. If somebody just had a rough few games, that is not enough, in my opinion, to warrant a dodge simply because of that player. However, if you have 3 auto-filled teammates, that would warrant a dodge. The 2 rules that I like to follow when deciding whether or not I should dodge is I try to determine, first of all, is anyone on my team not trying to win? Are there trolls? Are there people who are just queuing for a role that they don't play on purpose? Is there somebody who's just having a really bad day, doesn't care about win or loss? That's the first thing that I want to determine. The second thing is I need to determine, is matchmaking screwing me over? This means autofills. If I'm on my main account, it means being matched with D1 or D2 players. These would all be reasons for me personally to dodge. I don't go as far as looking at people's win rates on certain champions, simply because that could be completely up to luck. I try to just determine whether or not everyone on my team is trying to win and whether or not it's a fair game. If both of these things are the case, then I don't need to dodge based on the teammates that I was given. The only other time that you should dodge is if you specifically can't play that game. So if you got autofilled, or if you are playing into 4 counter picks, then this would be a good reason for you to dodge because you can't play the game. Dodging and duo queuing are probably the most important things to guarantee as many wins with as few losses as possible. So these 2 things are something that I recommend every single player gets in the habit of doing. We're always going to cover these topics simply because, of course, they increase your win rate by such a huge margin. It's going to be so much easier to win if you can go into the game knowing that you're more likely to win, right? For some reason, a lot of people don't like this. A lot of people think that duo queuing or dodging or whatever is a dishonest tactic. But if you really do want to win more games, then this is a part of the game. Champ Select is as much a part of the game as the game itself. If you're able to leave Champion Select with the best chance of winning possible, then this is of course going to be really good for you. For just a few closing notes, of course, I do not expect you guys to get 100% win rate simply because you watch this video. You are not me. You don't have the experience that I have. You guys aren't as skilled at the game or experienced at the game as I am. This is not expected for you guys to hit 100% win rate using these tips. What you can expect is a 60 or 65% win rate in the elo that you currently play in, simply by following all of these rules if you don't already. Finally, keep in mind, change does not occur from one day to another. You can't just arm yourself with this knowledge, go into the game and be like, oh, what's that? Now I have 65% win rate simply because I watched this video? No, of course, it's going to take you time to apply this knowledge. You're not going to be perfect at it at first. It takes practice. Now, if you yourself are some sort of freak of nature and you can just take information, soak it up, apply it without ever having to practice, then maybe you will do that. But the vast majority of people just cannot do this. That's the reality of the situation. Take the time that it takes to build these habits and eventually you will see success from them. Now, that's just about all that we have for today's video. If you guys are interested in me doing a video on my own 100% win rate accounts once we do finish them, then let me know in the comments down below. We did one last year, you guys seem to love it. This year, things are a lot different. We do a lot of different things. So if you guys want an update to that video, of course, once we finish, then be sure to let me know and we'll do that for you. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like and subscribe. For more content like this, you can head over to our website, GameLeap.com. Over there, we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses. So if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check us out using the link in the description below. As always, I'm Panther. I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next one.